The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you today, and have we got a show for you today. This is going to be a really wonderful show. Just sit back and enjoy. We've got a lot of great information, some great guests who are going to be here. I want to remind you right at the top of the show that this entire show is meant to be interactive. We hope that you will participate with us in whatever way you feel is comfortable. If you're watching the live show, there are a lot of different things to do, but even if you're watching the recorded version of this, many things that you can do. Kelby is going to cycle through some of the different ways that you can connect with us here and that you can be participating with us. While he's doing that, I'm going to remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go to that site, as I mentioned, there are many, many things there to do. Please sign up for our email list so that you can be getting our free newsletter every month and hearing about who our guests are going to be on the show. But also you have the ability to watch the live show and to interact. And you can also cycle through a lot of our previous shows by going to the playlist on that front page there. But I want to talk for just a second about the white boxes to the side of where that computer screen is, because that's where the live feature is. If you will put your cursor in the space where it says your comment or question, you can start typing and hit enter, and it shows up here on my screen. Now there is like a minute and a half, 2-minute lag because it has to go up into space and then shoot back down. I know how impatient are we anymore that we think that takes a long time. But I tell you that because I want you to ask your questions early in a segment so that you have the opportunity to interact with a guest when we have them here. It's totally free though, and you don't have to log in. Isn't that lovely? You don't have to remember a password and remember what your username is. It's instant gratification. You type it in, you hit enter, and it will show up here on my screen. So in that way, you can have a conversation with our guests and our experts that we have on our show. As I mentioned, you're completely anonymous, so we don't know who you are. You can ask whatever you want with no fear of people knowing who you are. The only thing is that if you want us to get back to you with something, then you do need to include some personal information so that I can get back to you. We will not share that with the audience at home. That's my pledge to you. We know how important it is that you maintain your anonymity. But we want you to get resources. We want to hook you up with information because we know that that's important, and we want to do that in a free and flexible format for you. So this doesn't cost you anything, and it's flexible in that you can be watching during the live show, or you can watch the recorded versions on YouTube. They're a free download on iTunes. I know some of you are you're getting the audio only download and putting it on a disc and listening to them in your car. That's wonderful. And we also have our own Roku channel. You can see us on Facebook. There are lots of different ways that you can be watching the video. If you have a website, you can be featuring our videos on your website. We're happy to give you a player so that you can do that on your website. We want information to get to the people who need it in this free and flexible format. That's important to me, and I segue into something that I always like to remind you at the start of the show, that we will have lots of experts here on the show. I am not one of them. I am not, nor am I pretending to be an expert in autism, because that would be crazy. I am a parent. That is what my credential is, to be sitting at this table. My son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he is now a lovely 11. And we are very fortunate and very happy to be at the point that we are in our lives right now. And I don't kid myself at all, nor should I kid you, that it didn't happen because I knew what I was doing on day one. That sure isn't the truth. And it didn't happen because we had a bank account that had endless amounts of money in it. That nothing could be further than the truth for that. But we got good information, and I feel a very distinct need to pay forward what was given to us, which was information. I know it's not one size fits all, and what was appropriate for my child is not necessarily appropriate for you or for your child, but I want to hook you up to resources so that you can ask the questions, so that you can start to figure out what you need and make that happen for you. We welcome everyone, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a practitioner. We love the fact that you're here, and if you yourself are an individual who's on the autism spectrum, we especially love and appreciate you and your viewpoint and being able to help you to get to the things that you want to do. So that's our deal here. That's my deal here. I hope you'll participate, because we feel like great things happen when we hold hands together. I say to you guys always, si se puede, we can do this if we hold hands with each other, right? So we like to start the show every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day, the jargon du jour, if you will. This is when we take on those lovely phrases, words, phrases, and acronyms that the autism community has thrust upon them by the various and sundry experts that we will run into. And I get it now. After this many years in autism, I get it. They shorten things because otherwise it would take you too long to say it over and over and over again. But until you know what these terms mean, it is the very definition of being overwhelmed, because not only do you have enough going on in your life, but then the people who are talking to you, supposedly trying to help you, they might as well be speaking another language, right? So we take one of these on a day, one word, phrase, acronym, and we give you the actual definition, and then we break it down into something that's a little bit more workable. I always like to say that the BCBAs break out into hives with our working definitions, but you got to start somewhere, right? And gradually you see that these terms start to become your own, and you start to use them too. That's when you know you've crossed over to the dark side, right? Okay, so you can see that today's term is EIBI. If you haven't heard of this yet, we want to make sure that you do hear about this, because this is something that can be crucial, absolutely crucial. So what does it stand for? EIBI, Early Intensive Behavioral Intervention. So very key. And what are we talking about for our working definition? ABA therapy as soon as possible. Now, notice I put as soon as possible. We talk a lot on the show about, frequently people will say the window. There's a window in which we want to get in and begin work with autism. Here's my thing about the window. Not everybody's window is the same, because we've said before, this is not a one-size-fits-all. We do know that a lot of science has been done, and that if children can start therapy between the ages of 3 and 5, that an early intensive behavioral intervention, that it's very, very effective, and that in some cases it's so effective that kids don't qualify for an autism diagnosis anymore. Well, that's wonderful, but what if your child is 7 and just received a diagnosis? Does that mean that window is closed? I want you to know that the truth is the studies haven't been done on that age range. So I personally know people who didn't start their kids until later who have had great results. And we do know the studies are there to show that all kids will make progress at whatever time, because we're all capable of making progress, right? Whether a child who's starting at 8 and has never had ABA and has some pretty severe issues with autism can get to the point where they no longer qualify for diagnosis, I don't know, because the studies aren't there. But I will tell you that it's important to embrace wherever you are. And if you have a child who's 14 and just been diagnosed, that you say to yourself, okay, we want to be able to help this child in this moment now. I think what happens so often when people start to talk about the window and, oh, we missed the window, in that time, I know you want to mourn it. We all want to mourn the time that we didn't get to things. But if we spend too much time mourning what didn't happen, we don't get to what can happen. So I ask you to prioritize. Don't do away with the mourning. You get to have your feelings, but prioritize. What am I doing today? What can I get done today? And how am I going to get it done in the best way? And what resources do I need to do to make that happen? That's why we're saying as soon as possible. And there's a whole host of things that can be done, and we're going to talk about some of those different things throughout the show today. But EIBI, Early Intensive Behavioral Intervention. All right, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you. We hopefully will get an opportunity a little bit later on in the show to check in to see what you guys wrote in for this. But what is your biggest obstacle in getting treatment? And this, again, is not a one-size-fits-all. I know that some of you are going to write in and say, funding, that you don't have the funding in place to be able to do the treatment. Others of you are going to write in and say, oh, I've got the funding, but I don't have a provider who can give me the services that I want. Still others are going to say that your work schedule is getting in the way, that when you would have to take the child to be able to get whatever services, you don't have anybody to take them and you've got to work to keep a roof over your head. Someone else might say, it's my spouse or significant other who doesn't think that this is an issue and doesn't want to upset our family. It may be that you've got so many kids and so many things going on with so many siblings that you don't want to segment out your life. Let's name it. Let's name it, because then if you name it, we can start to see, all right, what can we do? And not everybody can do the same thing, but what's possible? I think back to when, shortly after my son was diagnosed, in the very first IEP meeting that I was in, and I was getting very frustrated with the team, very frustrated, and the things that they were talking about were not things that I wanted to do. And because I was really, by that point I already knew I wanted to do early intensive behavioral intervention in my home, and they were talking about a preschool setting that I just knew in my gut was not right for my child. And finally, one of the people on the team said, okay, we've told you what we're thinking of. What is it that you want? And I said, he's 3. I want him talking. So I want that early intensive behavioral intervention in my home. I want 40 hours of ABA from a quality provider in my home so that he can go to preschool next year and then kindergarten on time. And she looked at me and she said, well, that's going to be hard. And the way she said hard, it was like, well, that's going to be impossible or next to impossible. And it was one of those moments, and I looked at her and I said, look, I already have gone through my child losing language and finding out that he has autism and kissing everything I thought about my life goodbye. So don't talk to me about hard. Talk to me about what's possible. That's all I want to hear. I already know all about hard. Let's talk about what's possible. And I remind you that all of those things that I wanted, we found a way. We found a way. We didn't find it by ourselves. I didn't find it because I was so smart or had the money, but we found a way. He did have a 40-hour intensive behavioral intervention when he was 3. He did go to preschool at 4, and he went to kindergarten on time because it was possible. Once I got out of the mindset of the people who were like, oh, well, that'll be hard. Well, we already know about hard, you and I, right? So we talk about what's possible. But you got to name what's getting in your way, I think, before we can start to get around it. So write into us, and then we'll take some time a little bit later on to kind of troubleshoot and maybe come up with some suggestions. All right, we always have a topic of the week, and our topic this entire week is early intervention. And I really want to stress that when I say early, I mean now. Just now. Whatever now is, whatever that means to you, I sort of want to throw that away and say now intervention, but nobody would understand what I mean. But early intervention means now. When would now be a good time, right? So whatever we're doing right now, wherever we are, we're going to be asking ourselves, what do we need to be doing next? And we're going to be talking about that all week long. So big, fun, fabulous show for you today. And of course, my iPad is going to decide to be difficult. But we have for us, Dina Kimmel is here with us, and she's been with us before. She is from We Rock the Spectrum. You want to talk about an amazing, amazing organization. This is a place where you can take your kids and really see some difference. So we're going to talk with her about what We Rock the Spectrum is, how you can find one close to you, because there are more of them that are opening up around the world, and how maybe you might be interested in having an opportunity to have your own We Rock the Spectrum. And then also something that they're doing, something new that they're adding to their gym that we think is really exciting. We've got some big autism news for you a little bit later on in the program. And then we postponed her visit from last month, but Paula Pompa-Craven is here with us. She is from Easter Seals. And I don't know about you, but Easter Seals has been a part of my life ever since I was a little itty bitty kid. And when I found out that Easter Seals has turned a lot of their mission to the autism community, I was overwhelmed with emotion about that. So Paula Pompa-Craven is here to talk about what Easter Seals is doing for the autism community and how that might benefit you. Maybe it's part of the answer of how you get around obstacles to get to that early intervention. And remember, early means now. So all of this and ever so much more today on Autism Live. I hope you stick around for it. We're going to take a break, and in just a couple of minutes, we're going to be back with Dina Kimmel from We Rock the Spectrum. Stick with us.
The corporate sponsors this year, and so happy to be here with Walk Now for Autism Speaks and supporting Autism Speaks here today with almost 50,000 people.
Hi kids.
We're representing We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym. We rock.
We rock.
We rock.
We are here at the Rose Bowl with Autism Speaks for the walk. It's 2014, amazing. They have picked Coach Key and We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym to do the warm-up for the walk. We are so excited. We're going to have about 30 We Rockers up there doing stretches and getting the kids ready to walk. We rock! We rock!
We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym. They put together some great gift bags for our Grand Club members. They created a great experience. We Rock the Spectrum's Kids Gym is committed to providing a safe, nurturing, fun environment to foster learning, exploration, and safe sensory experiences. Through their nonprofit, My Brother Rocks the Spectrum Foundation, they're going to provide social skills, groups, and activities for children across the autism spectrum. So please, one of the most energetic people you're going to meet, please welcome Coach Key from We Rock the Spectrum.
Here representing We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym. A gym for all kids.
I'm here with the Pasadena owner, Shana Hoffman and Danielle Baum. We are here working our support and resource booth. It's amazing. Almost 50,000 people. They're coming in as we speak.
rock the spectrum. Shannon the Groove Entertainment representing Autism Speaks. Having a great time.
Congratulations, you just won the basket for We Rock the Spectrum Tarzana. We can't wait to have you and your family there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I feel blessed.
Wonderful. Rock on.
Yeah.
Welcome back
I love hearing
to
the
Autism
parent of a
Live.
child
We're
with autism
here right
says,
now with
"My
Dina
child
Kimmel,
went to the park
and
was
we're
playing like
watching some video still of We Rock the Spectrum. So thrilled to have you back,
Thank you for having me.
and so thrilled to be able to watch that video of amazing. That was the LA Walk for Autism,
It was.
and you guys were a very important part of that. Tell the folks at home what you did.
We were the Grand Club sponsors, but I'll tell you, it's surreal to me. As you know, being an autism parent, when your child is first diagnosed, you're in a completely different world. I should say forever, you're in a completely different world. But for me, 5 years ago was my first walk for autism, and that was my first introduction to, I get chills talking about it, but the warmth, the love, the embrace from the autism community, and that walk, it brought me alive again and brought me awareness. And I know you and I could both probably cry together on this. But then here we were 5 years later in April, okay? And there were 60,000 people at the walk. We were asked to be the Grand Club sponsor. So there I was on stage with in front of 60,000 people doing the warm-up with all of my owners and the kids and my son and my daughter. And it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And amazing to think that 6 years ago, that was not your plan at all.
No.
But things in your life changed, and we were talking about this during the break, that, you know, all parents of kids who are on the spectrum have to find a way to make it work for them to have their therapy and make it work for them to make a living. And so you, being the visionary that you are, you had this great idea. And so that idea became We Rock the Spectrum. Tell our viewers, if this is the first time they're seeing you, what We Rock the Spectrum is.
Well, We Rock the Spectrum. Well, my husband's a musician, so that's where we get the rock and roll part about it. But I would say we do rock the spectrum. When my son was 2, when he was diagnosed, he was so severe sensory-wise. As you know, with ABA, with sensory, with occupational therapy, it all plays a piece in fitting the pieces, the puzzle pieces together to make our children complete and more independent. Well, for us, my son did not sleep. So what we did was, per our occupational therapist, instructions and directions, she said, look, if you want a life, you're going to have to bring in some of this equipment that you use in clinic and bring it into your home.
Yeah.
We moved all of our equipment, or all of our furniture out of our bedroom, and we built an OT gym.
Yeah.
So we brought everything we had in the clinic in there. And guess what happened? My son slept better.
Yeah.
My son ate. I had a child who did not sleep through the night until he was 4.
Wow.
I mean, talk about torture.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, my daughter, who's neurotypical, came in. She was playing. Then it was Casa de Kimmel, and all the play dates were at my house in my bedroom.
Right.
And then finally, after a year, I said to my husband, I go, we got to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Because I was kicked out of the bath like you. I've heard you tell your story. What's wrong with your son? You can't be here. And there I was carrying him out, kicking and screaming in a football hold. So I had no choice out of desperation for my own family. And when I say not family, not just Gabriel, but for my daughter, Sophia, so she could participate in play dates. Then all of a sudden, my son started talking with my daughter's friends, and he was socializing. And I said to my husband, I go, listen, I had a successful career for 20 years in clothing. I go, I can't do this anymore. I need to create a business, and even if it just pays for our own therapy, which is $150 an hour,
Right.
as you know, for OT.
Yes.
Well, what child, as you know, when you were talking about earlier in your segment, you know, what holds us back? Well, it is money. Money
Yeah.
is a big thing to do with it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I, like yourself, wanted to create a way to pay it forward so that the world could benefit like my son and my daughter did. So what did? We opened up our first We Rock the Spectrum in Tarzana 4 years ago this month.
Incredible. And so it's a gym, but it's ever so much more than that.
Yes.
You do so many things there, but it is a place where kids can go and get what? Tell the viewers.
It's all occupational therapy equipment, okay, that's inside the Rocks, which is amazing in itself. But we had a zip line, we had a trampoline, we had arts and crafts. You know, a lot of, for example, even the therapists here from CARD, they come in and they do their ABA therapy in a We Rock the Spectrum because it gets more language out of them, more eye contact. Being on this sensory-based equipment is great for all kids.
Yes.
And also, of course, what are we doing? We're building communities for the parents. We're creating homes.
Yeah.
And little did I know, all of a sudden I'm servicing over 700 families.
Amazing.
And I maxed out.
And people need to realize that, you know, when our kids are whole people. And a lot of times, you know, one of the things that we experienced for a brief period of time was that we doubled down really hard on the ABA, and that was important, but we didn't have a We Rock the Spectrum. And if we had, I would have had him in there on a regular basis because it's a place where you're using all the things that you're learning in ABA and that your kid gets to be a kid and get their yayas out. Our kids have to get their yayas out. They have to work on the sensory things. We don't want them. I saw my child went from being completely where he was supposed to be physically at 3 to then at 4 he caught up a lot verbally and he caught up a lot on his academic skills, but he was behind physically because we didn't take care of that component. So you have been able to put that all together and meld it together beautifully and make it a place where kids are socializing.
Exactly.
They're getting the OT skills. They can be working on ABA things there as well. And it's a very colorful, interactive, reinforcing place that kids want to go to.
It's fun.
It is fun. So you started with just one, but now it has grown exponentially, and you actually offer a franchise.
We do.
You said to me that there are twice as many. You were here with us in April.
Oh my gosh, yes. I was here with you in April, and I'll tell you, and this really says the need for what's going on out there. We've doubled our locations. We're at 20 the end of this month. I mean, it is unbelievable. But not only are we at 20, we're worldwide.
That's
we have
amazing.
3 in Florida.
Yeah.
We now have North Carolina.
Wonderful.
Berkeley is opening up next week. I mean, it's just, Palo Alto, we just brought in Palo Alto, Burlingame, Los Gatos area. It's phenomenal.
It is
phenomenal.
phenomenal.
We're now in the Ventura County. We Rock is opening up in Simi Valley, which I'm sure you and I both know does not have a lot of resources out there. And that's really what this is. We tell people we're not here to replace therapy. Right. We're what to do in between.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
You're supporting and helping it blossom and grow to that much more.
Exactly.
So if somebody is watching this and they want to bring their kid to a We Rock the Spectrum to check it out, where do they go to find out what the locations are?
So they can go to WRTSfranchise.com or WeRockTheSpectrum.com, and we have a locations page there.
Okay, and if you're somebody who is looking for a way, if you've been saying my previous job didn't work, I need a job where I can be with my child, that's helping my child, and that's helping to keep food on the table, maybe this is the franchise for me. So that's the site that they want to go to the franchise one.
Go to WRTSfranchise.com, and there's video footage, there's testimonies. What's great about We Rock the Spectrum, we're a family, all the owners. And I personally, so you know, we've had over 210 meetings.
Wow.
Can you imagine in 8 months? And I get to choose who we bring on because we are a family. We have to have a synergy. And I don't care if you're in the East Coast or you're here in California, we need to all be on the same page, either an autism parent or in the field.
Okay.
That's who my owners are.
And people, if they want a franchise, they're going to get an opportunity to work with you. You're very hands-on for this.
Maybe too much, my husband would say.
Wonderful. Okay, so we want to talk some more with Dina about one of the new additions that you've done at the gym that I find really fun. But in the meantime, check out what she has on those 2 websites. But we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more of Dina Kimmel, We Rock the Spectrum, after these messages.
go for it. You just have to do it. You have to believe in what you're doing, and that's the most important thing. My name's Dina Kimmel, and I'm owner and founder of We Rock the Spectrum Kids Gym for All Kids. I love you guys. Almost 6 years ago now, my son Gabriel was born, and we knew there was something wrong. So going by my gut feeling, I went and got him eval'd, and sure enough, he was diagnosed moderate to severe with autism. Oh, yeah. Something happens and the lioness kicks in. How can I make this work? How can I now change my family unit to work? This was it. We Rock was it. And I feel the work that I'm doing now with these kids, this is their foundation. As a mom, it was a dream come true because we were able to leave our home and go into, a public place and have other kids come in and have him play and be with other kids. My motto is we're finally a place where you never have to say I'm sorry. I get chills talking about it, but every week I cry with parents and help them and tell them you're not alone. I'm here for you. I say it's about all of us. Yes.
It's about all of us.
It's all a gut feeling. I knew We Rock was gonna work. I knew it. I wanted We Rock to be here for us, but also for other kids. You know, we're about the children, and we're about families, and I love it. This kind of equipment is letting all the children come together as one, typical and with autism, cerebral palsy, with Downs. We have something for every child in here. We've built a community here. I didn't intend to open up more We Rock the Spectrums. That was not my intention. I just wanted to pay my bills. 3 weeks after I opened, the gym took off. Now we have 7. We have 7 in total. It's unbelievable. CorpNet I'd known about for years, and I called them up and they were so nice. They made it so easy. When someone says, why use CorpNet? They're easy, they're affordable, and they're a great support system, and you're gonna need that when you open up a business. This is what I'm about. I'm about making the business work. I don't know about all that stuff. I leave it to the people who know what they're doing, like they do. They're great. They prepare you and let you know what you're gonna need. And you know what, Dina, as you grow, make sure your other businesses have LLCs also. And I've had many of my other franchisees look and get quotes from other places, and they're it. They're professional, they're affordable, and I will continue to use them forever.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're here with Dina Kimmel from We Rock the Spectrum, a really amazing organization, a wonderful place to take your kids. You're a gym, you're a sensory gym, but you're ever so much than that. You're a community hub for people in the autism community. But I understand that you have a new charity that you have started that we want to talk about.
Yes, we do. It's called My Brother Rocks the Spectrum Foundation.
Okay.
It's amazing. My new baby.
Okay, and so how can people find out more information about that, or if they want to donate?
So it's mybrotherrocksthespectrumfoundation.org.
Okay.
But this was in honor of my daughter. Again, what's our biggest battle? It's that both of our, if you have another child with your child on the spectrum and they're neurotypical, my daughter used to say, I wish I had autism. Wish I had autism so I could have all these therapists. So there I was, and seeing these families who could not afford the $12 for open play, who couldn't afford the social skills groups that we offer, who couldn't afford the camps, which are phenomenal, and now we're getting funding through Autism Speaks. Thank you, Autism Speaks, for your incredible grant. I mean, it's amazing. But there was still so many families who needed help. And then there was owners who wanted to become in the We Rock the Spectrum family and couldn't afford it. Yeah. So that gave the birth to My Brother Rocks the Spectrum Foundation, and you'll see a beautiful picture of my daughter there. And what that does is we raise funds for our social skills, for our camps, for our one-to-one attendant care. That's when you know the children are more severe and need someone with them, and really for any program that we have. And then for new owners, it helps them raise funds to build their We Rocks.
Wonderful.
It's amazing.
Wonderful organization. And then we also wanted to bring up that you have started a new thing just recently, I think this week, in your We Rock the Spectrums, because you have iPads that are there. And so you have partnered with friends of ours from Camp Discovery. What is the plan there?
Well, CJ was amazing. They came in and they said, listen, we have this app and we want to know what kids think about it. Well, what better way? I mean, we have, 20 gyms at the end of the month, 16 now open. So they've given us these links so that now kiddos are getting on and they're trying it out, and it's fabulous. Matter of fact, I said to them, I said, God, I wish that my son had this, who's now 7 at 3 and 4. And it's really fabulous. This is really going to go far with you guys. I'm very, very excited for you.
Well, I'm excited that you guys are doing it in the gym because I think, we always are looking for more and more ways to reinforce kids, and for the kids who are maybe a little reticent to do equipment kinds of things, knowing that they get a reward of playing a game on an iPad.
Exactly.
And it's a game where they're going to be getting, more instruction, because what Camp Discovery, if you watch the show, we've had them on before. It takes what you do in therapy, building language, and puts it in a game so the kids don't even know they're doing therapy.
Exactly, and as you know, many of our autistic children are visual learners.
They love screen time. They love that.
It's a gift.
Time.
It's a gift, but they're learning. So I think, Camp Discovery is doing a great job. I'm excited that our gyms can be a part of it and be the test. Be the
I'm
test for
excited
everybody.
about that too, because I know from talking to them, they're really interested in knowing what kids like and what they don't, because they're still tweaking and developing and getting ready to do a bunch more games. So I think they're in good hands being in your gym, and I think it just adds to what you're doing in your gym.
Exactly. We're lucky. We feel lucky.
Well, I think we're lucky that you're here, and we're lucky that you're doing what you're doing. I always say the power of one, and you were one person who saw a need and decided to fill it. And now all these people who are being helped, and not just the kids. I mean, I'm really struck by the fact that you're giving parents an opportunity. I said this before. Back in the day, if you had been doing this with a franchise, I think I would be one of your franchisees.
You'd be an amazing owner.
Because I was looking for exactly what am I going to do with my life.
Exactly.
I've got to have something for my kid that makes sense. I want to be making a difference, and you got to put some food on the table. So you're helping a whole segment of our community that needs it desperately.
Thank you.
You rock the spectrum.
Thank you. So do you.
So, we're all trying that, right? So I appreciate you. Let's say the websites again one more time.
It's www.werockthespectrum.com, and that shows you all of our locations. And then if you are interested in franchising, you can go to www.wrtsfranchise.com for more information.
WRTS, which stands for We Rock the Spectrum, so that you won't forget that.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us. And we're going to take a break and be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Hi, I'm Ryan with Autism Research Group. We study ways to improve the lives of kids with autism. One of those ways is teaching safety skills, such as what to do if they get lost. We hit the streets to find out if anybody knows the correct answer on how to teach a kid what to do if they get lost. You're teaching a child.
What to do if they get lost.
Yeah, you're trying to make them independent so they have the skills.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, give them a compass.
Code name's good idea. Centurion.
We always have this whistle.
I'd also tell the kid. I tell the kid, don't get scared. You're gonna be all right, man. This is just the world. This is planet Earth. You're at home here. As long as you're on planet Earth, you're at home.
As long as you're on planet Earth, you're home. This guy's a genius. With that flawless logic, he just solved our homeless problem. And as for the unique sounding whistle, although very cool, it'll probably only work if you're in close proximity. And a compass?
I have her call me.
Yeah, she doesn't have a phone. Parents are like, you're too young, you don't need a phone.
Establish some sort of meeting place.
What if they can't find a meeting place? Because sometimes the kids get nervous when they get lost.
Yeah.
So like a backup plan, plan B.
Yeah, I don't know. No, not really.
Let them go and find a new kid.
Yeah, I've got a different one. Yeah.
There's not much you can do.
There is stuff you can do. That's right, there is stuff you can do. In 2012, myself, along with my colleagues, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox and Dr. Adele Nadowski, published a study in the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis on teaching kids what to do when they get lost. The study demonstrated how 3 simple things, rules, role-playing, and praise, were effective in establishing these help-seeking behaviors. The benefit of this method is it doesn't require the child to have a cell phone or to have to locate a meeting place, which might be difficult if they're in a place like Disneyland. So once again, our method included rules, role-playing, and praise. Let's head back outside and learn about some of these rules.
They should yell out loud. Can't find my mom, help me.
Maybe yell out and scream for help.
All right, scream really loud.
Correct.
And if that doesn't work, then
I don't know.
before they could seek help from someone.
Find an adult.
Yeah, go to a vendor, you know, and say I'm lost. Or
Find an adult, like a police officer or a fireman or an employee in the store, and tell them, and maybe they can help you contact your parent. It really is that simple. You don't need to get your kid a cell phone. You don't need to establish a meeting place that they might not be able to find when they're lost and panicking. And you definitely don't need to give them a compass. All your kid has to do is 3 things. First, yell mom or dad real loud. 2, if that doesn't work, find an employee. And then 3rd, tell the employee they're lost. If they can't locate an employee, then tell them to find a mother with children, because that's probably the safest person to approach. I'm not saying that most men are predators, but most predators are men. That is a fact. I read it in a fortune cookie. All right, so you've gone over the rules with your kid, and you've quizzed them, and they're able to tell you the correct responses so they understand the rules. But is that enough? How do you know they're gonna perform correctly in a real-world setting? You need to get out there and find out if they can actually do it. So you'd go over the rules and tell them, like, do this, do that, but how would you know if they actually knew what to do? If you wanted to shoot a basketball, and I just told you, oh, when you shoot a basketball, do this, this, and this.
I never practiced.
You never practiced, yeah, so it don't matter how many times we go over the rules or how well you can repeat them back to me. It's not going to change until you get on the court and practice.
maybe do like a, you know, a little skit with them.
Like a role play?
Role play, yeah.
Your child, you're lost in the toy aisle.
Okay.
What do you do? I'm an attendant, walking around.
I'm lost, I don't know where my mom is. And then once you practice, you just like praise them, give them feedback, like, good job, you did it.
Reinforcing it.
Yes, this woman wins the prize for best comment. She pointed out the most important part of learning, reinforcement. Now, in our study, we used praise, but for your kid, you might have to use something else. You might have to buy them a treat, a toy, take them to their favorite restaurant where they can eat unhealthy food and run around and climb through plastic tunnels that have the unmistakable scent of urine, and then play games, spending $20 to get a plastic little spider ring that they will eventually lose in a ball pit. The point is, you need to reward your child for correctly demonstrating what you've been teaching them.
Okay, I'm gonna call her. Hello, your child, Ryan Ouch is missing. There you go.
Woohoo!
Yay!
So you tested it out
I'll
in the
try.
store to make sure I knew it. I had the rules,
Yes.
we role played it, and you made sure I knew it, and then like you said, good job, and all that. Now we're good to go.
We're good to go.
All right.
Done?
High five right there.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Give your child the rules, get out there and practice, and reward your child for responding correctly. For more information, please visit us online at autismresearchgroup.org. I'm Ryan Bergstrom. Thanks for watching. Yes, ding. No. Yes, this woman wins the first. Yes, this woman. Yes, this woman wins the best. Yes, this woman wins the first place. Yes, this woman wins. Why can't I say woman? Yes, this woman wins. What's the line? Yes!
Welcome back to Autism Live. I promised you some autism news, some big autism news. We've got 2 things for you. You know how usually I say to you, I'm going to give you something not so good and then something good. We've got something great and then something that has the potential to be great. So how's that for a good start to the week? I want to start by talking with you about the Autism Able Act. We told you that the Autism Care Act passed. Well, we have until Friday. On Friday, Congress is going to go on vacation. And I guess it's for the election season. It seems like they just had summer break, but you know, who am I to say? In any case, we have till Friday to get Congress to get off their tookuses and to pass the Autism Able Act. This is a really important act that really levels the playing field for those of us in the autism community who want to be able to set aside some money. You know, there's a whole act that allows families to save money for colleges, right? And for education for later on, and you can do it tax-free. And that is a great thing, and we need to extend that to autism families to be able to save money for therapies and for things that have to do with life and training for life, for therapies for life. Our kids are a little bit different. That doesn't mean that they aren't going to need education and they aren't going to need tools. So the Autism Able Act allows us to be able to set aside monies for very specific things and to be able to do it with and do it tax-free. That's really the important part there. I'm not being very articulate. But it's so very important that we get our legislators to get this done. I know there are many things that they have to get done before Friday, but that doesn't make what our kids need long-term any less. And they find plenty of time to do other things, right? So don't be sidetracked when they say, well, there's a lot that has to be done by Friday. That's like when our kids say to us, well, I had too much homework, so I couldn't get it done, and you had all weekend to work on it and didn't. So don't let your legislators tell you that. So what can you do today to put the pressure on? And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take me and you and all of us and everybody you know to put that pressure on. They will only do things between now and Friday that they feel are going to get them a bump in people wanting to vote for them. So put the pressure on. How are you going to do that? If you go on Facebook and you go just to go to the search bar on Facebook, go to Autism Votes, VOTES, and you will see that they have a link on their page that talks about getting Congress to vote before Friday. Click on the link and it's going to take you to a site which will allow you to put in where you live, your zip code, and it will populate who your legislators are. It will give you the phone numbers, but it will allow, if you want to, you can put in your phone number. You type your phone number in and you say who you want to call, and you set your phone down, and they'll call you within a minute and they'll connect you with the office. And they'll even pop up a script that tells you some things that you might want to consider saying so that you don't have to get all tongue-tied, that you can say, hi, this is Shannon Penrod. I'm an autism mom and I am one of your constituents and I need for you to pass this. This is important to me. You don't have to be any longer than that, especially if you get a person on the line, because usually what you have is an intern or an assistant or somebody who just makes a hash mark. Oh, are you for or against the Autism Able Act? I'm for in a big time. And I always joke with them and say, put 2 hash marks because I'm that big time for this. They won't. But, that's my little joke that I do with them. But you need to make the phone calls. They will also give you the opportunity to send an email if you want, or give you the address if you want to mail something. We don't have time to snail mail anything. All of us need to find 5 minutes today to do this, and really we need to find 5 minutes every day between now and Friday to push our elected representatives. We put them in office and we're about to decide who we want to put back in office. You got to let them know what matters to you, and you got to do it this week. Okay, so that has the potential to be great. How fabulous would that be? And the other great thing is that as of yesterday, Medicaid, in California is covering autism treatment again. ABA is covered as of yesterday. So we are the first state here in California to do that, and everybody's rah-rah about it, and it's very exciting because we got here. I would like to remind everybody that we had it before. It was covering it, and then there was a period of time in which it was taken away. So this is a wonderful victory because we are back where we started, and that's important. There are so many kids. I could just put my head down and weep on this table for the number of kids that I met who started ABA and were making tons of progress, and for the last year had that taken away from them, and for the families that went through that, how devastating that was to them, and today they have it back. We have some incredible people to thank for that. I want to start by thanking Senator Darrell Steinberg, who has been a champion for all of us. I want to thank Senator Kevin De Leon for picking up the reins where Senator Darrell Steinberg, who's leaving us because he's terming out, and that Senator De Leon has picked up the reins and said, this is important to me too, and I want to thank him for doing that. And I want to thank Governor Brown for being willing to change his mind on this subject. And I want to thank our federal government for putting down the guidelines and saying, this is very important and you need to cover this state by state, and giving us some guidelines. I hope that California leads the way and that all of the other states get as quickly on top of this as California did and as they should. That is our news for today. More people getting more access to more treatments and the possibilities of having those treatments. Make sure that you step up today and you make those phone calls. Go to Autism Votes on Facebook. We're going to take a break and we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Hi, Lisa Ackerman back with Talk of Facts. Questions, real life questions and answers for the autism journey. Oh, are you ready for this one? Talk to me about puberty. So what I would recommend is first and foremost is the kids that have done the therapeutics, the medical, and the dietary allergen removal interventions tend to have an easier time at puberty. Seizures are really common for children on the spectrum, more than neurotypical populations, and they're especially most common right at or about puberty time. So it's extremely important, even if you have a 10-year-old, that you've already done an EEG, that you consider before they go through puberty to get a second EEG done. Just because you have one clean EEG with no abnormal brain activity or seizure activity, you need to do another one prior to puberty. That's one of the most common calls we get with teens on the spectrum, is they are often experiencing a seizure for what their family thinks is the first time. And the third thing is you're gonna have a teenager, so you're really gonna have to kick it up a notch on those life skills, social skills, and getting your kid ready to be that teenager they need to be. So if you're doing that baby thing, and I know you are, where you're maybe making their lunches or helping them with laundry, we need to start bouncing some chores over to those kids. And we also need to increase social environments where they can be successful. So think about it. We've got 3 really important things that we need to look at. Puberty is a very serious issue, and we take it very seriously. So make sure you have all of your therapeutics, medical, and dietary interventions in place. Consider to do another 24-hour EEG with your physician prior to puberty. And the third most important thing, get ready to raise the bar. Your job is to really get them ready for life. And I know you can do it.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to take just a second right now to talk about the importance of getting a diagnosis, because I think a lot of times we get confused about what's important and why it's important. And maybe I have a unique perspective on this, but one of the things that I want you to know is that sometimes people will call me up or they'll write and they'll say, what do I do if my child is showing symptoms of X, Y, and Z? And I would say to you, there are some things that you can do. You can go online and look up DSM-5 and autism criteria, and it will show you exactly what the current criteria is for diagnosing autism. I think for somebody who's just new to the game, sometimes that can be overwhelming. But I will tell you that if you're wondering, if you're having that moment in your life where you're thinking, I'm not sure if my child is on the spectrum, and maybe you've gotten some information and it could be accurate or inaccurate, and you're saying, well, you know, the eye contact sometimes is sketchy. They don't respond when I say their name. They're lining up their toys. I just don't know. What I would say to you is honor your gut. If you have to ask the question, and this is finally what somebody said to me, if you're asking yourself the question, then you owe it to yourself and to your child to go and be seen by somebody who has the potential to give you a diagnosis. Now, a lot of times people go and say, I'm worried, and it might be autism, and they go and the person will say to them, you know, this is not autism, but this is fill in the blank. You know, it may be that the child has a sensory disorder. It may be that the child is just behind in language development. It may be that the child requires speech therapies or OT, right? So it doesn't automatically follow that you will get an autism diagnosis. There's that very specific criteria. That's the DSM-5 criteria. But if you are in your gut thinking, I wonder if this child has autism, then I would be willing to bet that your instinct is correct, that your child needs something. And that's what's really important. The label is only important in that if you get an autism diagnosis, it enables you to get funding for therapies. It will make it easier for you to be able to pay for the things that your child needs. But it isn't, other than that, it's not essential. But if it is autism, and even if it's not autism, if your child is behind, your child deserves the care and the kindness of being given the tools to help that individual child. That's the important thing. And if they only need a little bit of help, then hopefully you will financially be able to take care of that. And there are services and funding sources that will help you if you only need a little bit of help because your child doesn't qualify for autism. But if your child needs a lot of help, which means that they've qualified for an autism diagnosis, when we're saying autism spectrum disorder, which means they need help and support, then there is funding. And it comes in lots of different ways depending on where you are and what state you are and what country you're in, but there are funding sources that can help you to get the help that your child needs and deserves. So that's what's important about going and getting a diagnosis, because if you know what you have going on, you will begin to know what to do and you will be eligible for help and support. So if you're asking the question, it's time to go and get the answer, whatever it is. And yeah, we all need our hand held through it. It's hard. I've been through it. It was certainly one of the hardest things that I ever had to do, one of the hardest things that I ever had to face, but it made everything else possible. When I think back, I don't regret going to get the diagnosis. I regret every single day until I said we need to do something. What do we do first? We need to go see the doctor. Every single one of those days leading up to that day, that's where I have the regret. But I don't regret for a second going and getting that diagnosis and starting on a path where we helped our child to connect with the world in the way he needed to. So go. Listen to your gut, do what you have to do, see the professional who can tell you what you have going on so you can begin the journey to things being better. Progress is available for absolutely all of our kids. Take advantage of it. We're going to take a break now and we're going to go to the A Word. This is the amazing ongoing documentary being made by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders that follows a little boy, Jack Riley. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and he started his EIBI, our jargon phrase for today, his early intensive behavioral intervention shortly after he turned 2. That's considered very young, and we get to see that at this point, we're almost a year into therapy at this point in the series, and he's making great progress. But one of the things that we know about early intensive behavioral intervention is that it's something that takes a period of time. We really look at it and think at least a 2-year window of time for almost all of our kids. In my son's case, it was 5 years. So if you think about that, why did it take so long? Because they make progress and then new things crop up as they're learning and growing, and we take those things on as well. So it isn't all easy. It isn't all hearts and flowers and roses, but it's all worth it because they make the progress. And progress looks different for each one of our kids, but progress is available with the right quality ABA for all of our children. So take a look. This is the A Word.
Whoa, happy feet there. Are you excited? Wow.
Can I have a kiss? Thank you. He did tell Miss Miriam yesterday that he said poopies. She came and got me. We looked, there was none there, so we thought he was telling us stories. And 2 minutes later, there were.
Oh. Wow.
You did it, didn't you?
That's exciting.
She's Away's a new therapist and is having an overlap with Jessica. She will be doing fieldwork training until she is ready to independently work with a child. In order for She's Away to work independently, she must first pass a theory-based test, which is her knowledge of autism, and then second, she must pass a field evaluation, which is an overlap where she applies what she has learned.
If I want to do actions, then it looks like we're just doing maintenance right now.
Do the ones that he already has mastered.
And that's in a separate bag, okay.
Yeah. And then you would just be asking, what is the little boy doing? The boy is playing.
Okay.
It should be his answer.
Okay. Jack Riley, my name is She's Away.
Hi, She's Away. Hi, She's Away.
Oh, very good. Give me a high five. Yeah. Okay, so Jack, what would you like to do after we do a program? Would you like bubbles?
Puzzle.
Oh, puzzle? Okay, we can do puzzle.
Since we're using the puzzle as a reinforcer, don't give it to him yet until you do the program. Because now he's like, well, I already got the puzzle.
Yeah,
so
why should I?
Why should
Okay.
I work?
What is the boy doing?
He's speaking.
Yeah! Oh, good! One sticker. What is this man doing?
What's it do?
Yeah! What is she doing?
He's kicking.
Yeah!
Hey, good job.
What is he doing?
He's Buzz Lightyear positive.
Yeah, that was great.
So bring up some other ones too.
He's Buzz Lightyear.
What are they doing?
She's hugging.
Yes, they're hugging.
Are you taking data as you're going along?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is he doing?
He's sleeping.
Oh, yeah, you're so good.
He's sleeping.
So make sure you write the
The
stimuli,
stimuli,
too.
yeah. It's like, I don't want to take too much time. Should I just be quick with it?
Yeah.
Okay. What are they doing?
He's playing.
Yeah, they're playing. Good job, Jack.
Playing a box.
They are playing blocks. You're so smart.
What is he doing?
He's playing.
Yeah, another one.
He's playing blocks.
He's playing blocks too.
He's playing a car.
He's playing cars. That's right.
What is she doing?
He's playing.
Yeah. What are they doing?
He's playing.
Yeah, you finished. Good job, Jack Riley. Give me high fives. Can you do high fives? Yes. Okay. You ready to play with your puzzle? Okay, here.
Where's the cow? Where's the cow? Oh, good job. What does he say? What does the cow say? What is he?
Moo.
Hi, monkey.
You want a pillow sandwich?
Okay,
Okay, go get me the pillows. Will you show She's Away how we do your pillow sandwich?
I want to see this pillow sandwich.
Okay, ready? One. Hold on. Can you let go? Hold on. 1, 2, 3.
Ah! Squash! Pillow sandwich. It's a pillow sandwich.
And here we get there's a lot of opportunities for him to ask for things. Like if he wants more of jumping, more of pillow sandwiches. It's called man training.
Oh.
So what we're doing is we're giving him frames because he knows that I want and give me, but we're trying to teach him a new frame, which is can I have something. So how we prompt him is something that he really, really wants, like pillow sandwiches or having you pick him up or something.
Okay.
And I've been prompting him with a partial verbal with just the cup, and he knows to say, "Can I?"
Okay.
So, I mean, we could track that later, but this is just one of the opportunities that you can use to to do that program. Do you want more? When you say, "Can I?"
Yes, you can have pillow sandwich. Come here. Crash!
Ask her. Say, "Can."
Okay,
Yeah.
come here. Let me see you. Oh, how fun is that? Welcome back to Autism Live. That was the A Word. You can watch this entire series at whatever point that you would like to drop in on their very own YouTube channel. You know I love this series, and this episode is a good case in point because we don't get to see the whole picture of what it's like for Jack Riley and his family. We get to see little snippets of what it's like, and I can tell you as somebody who's been through this kind of intervention that it's very accurate in its snippets. But there are sometimes things that I know you guys write in and say, oh, does he only have one therapist? Because most of the episodes we focus on seeing the one therapist, Jessica. But I love this particular one because not only do you get to see another therapist working with Jack Riley, but you get to see a therapist who's in training and something that the Center for Autism and Related Disorders calls an overlap. So there's a period of time after somebody goes through training that they start to go into homes with a senior therapist
And the senior therapist is there the first couple of times they're working with the child, and the new therapist is just observing. But then eventually what happens is, with the direction of the senior therapist, that therapist begins to work with the child. And they're not just working with one child, they're getting to work with several different children, so that eventually they have a field evaluation with one particular child. It's sort of like a test that a senior therapist is there and observes them to make sure that they're doing everything properly. And if they pass the test, then they get to be a therapist who's working with children. And a lot of times, in the beginning when we were doing therapy, I was like, well, why are these people in my home, and you're going to train people with my child? Until I saw it the first time, and then the appreciation for how much care went into making sure that when an individual works with your child, they know what they're doing. I learned when they were doing overlaps, because the therapist in training would ask questions, and I would hear their senior and it would be a question sometimes that had never occurred to me, right? And I would hear the answer to it. I grew as a parent in terms of what I knew about therapy and about my child and how to interact with my child. And I got to see those people learning and growing and interacting with my child. The other part of it that's brilliant and wonderful is that we never want our children to be just with one therapist and get addicted to the way that therapist says something. You saw in that final shot that the one therapist, Jessica, has been doing this very rewarding thing with Jack Riley, where she gets him with the pillows and puts him down on the bed, and it works a certain way with this therapist. Well, the therapist in training does it a little bit different, and it's great for our kids' flexibility, that they're around other people, that they hear them phrase the question in different ways, that they go about things different ways, because that will help our child to be able to generalize, which is the thing that we're all trying to get to. So that when the child, I remember early on when they were teaching my son, what's your name? And he got used to me saying it and Dad saying it and for our therapist saying it, but suddenly we'd be in line at the grocery store and the checkout person would say, hey, what's your name? And just say it with an accent or something. And my son initially didn't quite get it, but the more that we worked in different circumstances and the more therapists that we had, the more people that asked him, eventually he understood that people are going to ask this with lots of different accents in lots of different ways, and they're going to change up the words in the sentence. They're not going to ask it in different way, in the same way over and over again. That all helps our kids. So a wonderful, wonderful example of how we ensure that our kids get the best quality therapy. Absolutely love it. So check out the A Word. Use this tool in whatever way helps you to get to the progress that you're trying to make. All right, we're going to take a break, and then I'm so excited. I'm all at Twitter about this. Our next guest is somebody that I'm really excited to meet in person for the first time. Paula Pompa-Craven is going to be with us, and she's coming to us from Easter Seals. As I mentioned before, Easter Seals has been an organization that's been in my life as long as I can remember being in the planet. And when I found out not too long ago that Easter Seals' mission has now taken on autism, this made me very excited. So I'm so thrilled that she's going to be here with us and talk about exactly what is happening with Easter Seals and autism. I guarantee you're going to be excited about it, so stick with us.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What
yes.
did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle. Without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. We underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I said before how excited I am. I'm so thrilled. Paula Pompa-Craven, am I saying it right?
Yes.
Is here with us from Easter Seals. And I had said earlier in the show that Easter Seals has been with me since I was a child, and I was just sharing with you that my mother was born with 2 club feet and was in braces until she was probably 19 years old. Wow. Played basketball in braces. She was that kind of a person. And my grandmother would always say, if it weren't for Easter Seals, I don't know where we would have been. And I was saying, I know that Easter Seals has been through some changes over the years, and maybe if you could start by informing all of us about how it started and how it's gathered speed to get us till today.
Sure. So Easter Seals started about 100 years ago in Ohio, and I think you mentioned your mom was somewhere near that area.
In Iowa.
Right?
She was born and raised in Iowa.
So what happened was Edgar Allan, who is the founder of Easter Seals, lost his son in a motor coach accident, and what he found right away was there were no services for children who had been injured or hurt. So he set up these hospitals, and it originally was called Crippled Children's Society, and so they did things like rehabilitation and adaptive devices and so forth, so that's the braces and so forth that maybe your mother had had been offered. And then they started to sell the seals a while later as a fundraiser, and people started to associate the two, and so they eventually changed the name to Easter Seals.
I see.
And the nice thing about Easter Seals is we are different affiliates throughout the nation, and so each affiliate really looks at the needs of the community. And so Easter Seals in Southern California, which is the Easter Seals I represent, we look at what are the needs within the community, which is how we got to autism services.
Well, and so as I said, from my childhood, we talked all the time about Easter Seals and how it helped children that had special needs. It hadn't occurred to me that Easter Seals had extended that to autism, and extended it in a huge way, not in a small way, but more and more families were writing in, and we were talking about, where are you? Do you have funding? And they were writing in and saying, we have Easter Seals funding. And I remember having a day here, I went, of course that makes total sense, but it didn't occur to me that you guys had made this shift. But you have an initiative that's all about autism. Tell us what that's about.
And we've had an autism initiative for many, many years, especially when we started to see the diagnosis increase and so forth. And we've served adults with autism for many years through our adult day services, our Work First program, our residential services. They weren't specifically for autism, but we always have had people with autism within our service lines. A lot of times they were not diagnosed because they were 40, 50 years old and they didn't have the diagnosis then. What happened was when the insurance mandate came about, we started to partner with Kaiser Permanente, and they came to us and said, we really want one source of service for our members with autism, and we want you to be that source. And so we worked really hard to gear up. Fortunately, we have a wonderful infrastructure at Easter Seals, and so we were able to really get to the point where we were able to offer services to children and young adults. We do have some older adults that we serve through Kaiser, behavioral services for in the home environment. We also provide speech and occupational therapies, and currently we serve over 3,000 individuals in Southern California alone. And some of them have multiple services, so maybe up to 7,000 types of services that we serve. These are 7,000 individuals who each have maybe multiple services.
Okay, so help me to understand, because I was thinking that you guys were a funding source, but it's sounding more like you provide the actual services.
Right, we are service providers.
Wow.
So we provide behavioral services in the home.
Okay.
Similar to what you showed on.
ABA.
Yes,
we're talking about
ABA
early
service.
intensive behavioral intervention today. So you're providing those service therapists are coming to the home to be able to do that. Wonderful.
Yes.
And then you were mentioning you have things for older individuals as well, including helping with job placement and of that nature.
Right. It's our Work First program, so we assist people to find jobs, we support them in their job, and it's one of the things that we're very proud of, because we feel that all people have the opportunity, should have the opportunity, have the right to earn a living.
Oh, well, yes. Amen to that. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and talk really specifically for families who are interested in knowing about these services and how they access them and who can, and because I imagine it's, you have to be in a certain area. We'll find that out. I have questions for Paula, and you might have questions as well, and you can be writing them in on the live feature right now, so stick with us.
I love hearing when a parent of a child with autism says, "My child went to the park and was playing like a typical child."
As a therapist, I help change lives.
Well, the way it all comes together at Easter Seals is in the naturalistic approach. We have a unique ability to work with our kids in a manner that isn't robotic. It's a very play-based social approach.
When you see a child achieve a goal that he's been working on for months or weeks, it just really makes you feel good about what you're doing.
Our autism services include behavior, speech, occupational, and physical therapies. Easter Seals is a nonprofit organization. We provide exceptional services, education, outreach, and advocacy so that people living with autism and other disabilities can live, learn, work, and play in our communities.
Easter Seals serves Southern California counties from San Luis Obispo to San Diego.
I love
what I do.
I work at Easter Seals.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here with Paula Pompa-Craven, and she is coming to us from Easter Seals. You just saw a video about some of the services in Southern California for Easter Seals. So if somebody right now, at this moment in time, in order for them to access the Easter Seals autism services, they would pretty much need to be in Kaiser Permanente for their insurance. Is that correct?
For behavioral services, speech and occupational therapies. For our day services, Work First, those are regional center funded services.
Okay.
Yes, or employment services.
Okay, so in Southern California then, depending on which area, which age group that you're in, which ability group you're in, you would, if you're with Kaiser, that would be your insurance funding for that. If your child is older, you can go to the regional center because you are a vendor for them for those services. I know people write in all the time and say, where can I get more services? How can I do that? And so that's something, a lot of times with the regional center, and heaven knows I love the regional center. The regional center saved our lives. But sometimes you have to know what to ask for when you're talking to the regional center, because those people are so overworked that, they have a whole catalog of things that are a possibility, and if you don't know what to ask for, they may not tell you what's available. So if you have one of those older kiddos or an adult that is on the autism spectrum, ask for those programs. Say Easter Seals, say, vocational programs so that you can be keyed into that sort of thing. And then I don't know if you know in terms of that Southern California, but we have an international audience. So we have people who are watching us in all 50 of the United States. Are there programs like this in other areas of the country?
Yes, we actually duplicate what we have here in Northern Cal. So this was a relationship that we worked on together with Kaiser. So they have the same services in Northern California that we have here in Southern California as far as behavioral, speech, and occupational therapy as well. And then other parts of the country, we definitely serve children and adults with autism. And as I said, it's very community focused. So what are the needs in that community?
Okay, so let's say I'm in Missouri and I don't have the things that I need to do. Would I call the local Easter Seals office and ask what's available?
I would definitely, or jump online and you can look at the Easter Seals national website. It'll link you to your specific state's website or local area's website to find all the services are generally listed there. The same with ours in Southern California.
Okay, so let's shift a little bit now to, Easter Seals is still something that people donate to.
Right.
And I think people like to know, where does the money go when we're donating. So we want to encourage people to donate to Easter Seals. Tell us a little bit about where a portion of that money is going to autism services. What kinds of things does it go for?
Sure. So we do have fundraising, and we actually have a walk coming up on November 8th at Aquatic Park in Long Beach. And so you can go to our website to get information on that. Some of the funding there would go toward copays, which is always a big challenge for our families, because now they're hit with these insurance copays that they weren't expecting before. And so sometimes they're able to get support from the regional center to pay, but not always. And if that's the case, we have our own financial assistance program, and the funding would go to cover some of those copays when families just can't afford it, but really need the services. And some of our families, like you were mentioning, need 20, 30, 40 hours a week of intensive therapy.
And I don't know that people understand that, you might have insurance funding for 40 hours. Your doctor's written the prescription and you have the insurance funding for the 40 hours. But each time a therapist comes to the door, you have a $30 copay, which means, and I can remember days when my son was 3 that he would have 3 therapists come in a day. So that would be $90 for that day.
It's a little different for us. It's a one-time copay for behavioral services. So if you have 3 appointments in one day, it's 1 copay. But if you have ABA, speech, and OT in one day, that's 3 copays. So but it
adds up.
Regardless.
It adds up for the families, and sometimes, families are in tears and saying, we fought so hard to get insurance coverage and I still can't afford it. So what a blessing that now is it just people who are in Southern California, if they have to be in Kaiser to be able to apply for that copay?
That they're receiving services from us, and then they would apply for the financial.
But I hope people know about that, that if you're getting Kaiser, that you want to make sure that if you're having trouble meeting those copays, that what we don't want to have happen, if at all possible, is for people to have the funding to get the therapy and not be able to afford it because of the copay or the deductibles. So I appreciate that you guys are involved in that and seeing the need and feeling the need. is so like Easter Seals to do that. It's a long-standing tradition that you guys have of filling the need where it is. I can't thank you enough for being here and for filling the service. Is there anything else that you would like our Southern California families to know before we leave you about what Easter Seals is doing here in Southern California and how they can get involved?
Well, I think visit our website. It's www.southerncal.easterseals.com, and it's a great resource for information, not only on employment at Easter Seals itself, but also on how to give, fundraising, and also all the services that we offer.
Okay, and I imagine most ABA providers are usually hiring therapists. So if somebody is interested in being a therapist, that they can reach out to you for that as well. We were saying during the break, I always say it's going to take an army, and we don't have enough soldiers in our army that are armed with the tools to be able to help as many individuals as that need the help. So we plod on, right?
Yes.
But I thank you for the good work that you're doing and the good work that you continue to do. And please take the message back to everybody at Easter Seals how much we appreciate what you're doing.
I will. Thank you.
All right. So thrilled to have you here. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages.
Riley has high-functioning autism, and I'd say I noticed somewhere between 9 months and a year. Looking back now, I can tell you everything. I mean, there was no pointing, there was no shared experiences, speech was not coming, the interactive play was not coming, those things weren't happening. You go to the pediatrician, they tell you, well, sometimes boys are slow or things might take a while to come along, but it still wasn't happening. And right when he hit the 2-year-old room in preschool is when the wheels fell off the wagon. That's when we got some intervention. That's when we figured out, how are we going to address this problem. The first thing I did was I got a mentor, because there's no book on what to do with your autistic child. I mean, there's many books, but each path is individual. So I got a mentor, a really nice woman named Marlene. She has a daughter with Asperger's, and she told me, go to a psychiatrist so you can have your child fully diagnosed and a rock-solid diagnosis that can't really be attacked. Call CARD and do whatever they tell you to do. That was probably the thing she talked about the most. Get in touch with CARD. She actually put me in touch with Evelyn from CARD, and calling CARD was like amazing, because I really felt like things were finally going to be okay. We were going to get the help we needed.
We tried a number of different things before we could get into CARD, and you could really see the difference in the data keeping, really addressing what his issues were, whereas the other places we had been, it seemed pointless to me.
We've talked about this, and I feel like we met a lot of really nice, well-intentioned people.
Right.
And then when we got to CARD, we met a lot of really nice people who could help us because they had the experience. It was ABA, which I think is the only way to go with your child if you're trying to overcome autism. And if you go to CARD, the people are so qualified, and there's so much of a database on how to approach this. It's just like they come right in, and we started off with, let's have Riley sit down for 2 seconds, because he couldn't even get that. And we worked on baby steps until now he's in 1st grade and he's working at grade level. So it just starts with baby steps, and it keeps working on, because they have a way to approach every single problem, every single tantrum, every single thing you're going to come up with. They have a way to approach it and help you get through it.
Yeah, I'm always amazed, like at our clinic, we'll be having a specific problem, and how good they are, all of them, the therapists and your team leader, at coming up with a solution, something to try, and it almost always works. Whatever the particular behavior you're trying to deal with, they're really good at them. They know the answers.
He likes a lot of stuff, I think, regular 7-year-olds like. He likes to swim.
He loves to swim.
He's a fish. Likes to ride a scooter, loves Toy Story, loves playing on the iPad.
Loves Justin Bieber.
Thought you all baby mine.
Good job, buddy.
High five.
High five.
High five.
Yeah.
CARD's been good about encouraging us to do things that maybe wouldn't occur to us, like him learning to ride a bike was really them saying, hey, it's time, let's do this, and helping us do that. And so he can ride a bike. He's still working on the brakes a little bit, but you know, he can pedal a bike. We can go to Balboa Park and he'll ride happy as a clam along the bike path.
If you think something's wrong, it's not about you. Don't bury your head in the sand. Go get help, because the help is out there to make your life and your child's life just so much better. And if you're lucky enough to get in with CARD, I can't even tell you what a difference it's made in our lives from 4 years ago. Just the quality of life we have, the quality of life Riley has, the progress he's made from being a child who wanted to stay in his room and play Toy Story and line up his Toy Story dolls all day, to a first grader who's working at grade level. It couldn't have happened without CARD intervention, without ABA, and without all the wonderful people we met there.
Welcome back to Autism Live. And we wanted to do a little segment here for those of you who are newly diagnosed. For those of you who've just recently gotten the diagnosis and you're a little bit at sea. I want to give you a couple of things for your parent checklist. One of the most important things that you've got to do in this first little period of time is to take stock of what you've got going for you. And I want to encourage you, one of the first pieces of action that I want you to try to take is to get signed up onto some form of a support group that works for you, that is local, and some form of a support group that is more global. You're going to have questions and you're going to want to have people that you can talk to at length. Please feel free to pile your questions on here as much as you can, and you can also write to me or you can Facebook message us. Probably sending it in on the live feature is the quickest way to get a hold of me, but also my email is s.penrod@autism-live.com, so that if you want to write in something, sometimes what you want to say is a little bit more extensive, you can send that off to me as an email. Absolutely. But I will tell you that you're going to need to have people that are resources that you can call at different times of the day or night and to ask questions. One of the best gifts that was ever given to me was to let me know about a local support group that I could sign up on a Yahoo group, and I could ask questions. There were other parents that were there. I got a daily digest. I could see the other questions that parents were asking, and for the first 2 years of autism, I read that daily digest as my daily newspaper, and I would find out about things that I didn't know about. You know, somebody would be talking about something and say, hey, how many respite hours are you getting from the regional center? And a bunch of people would write in and say, you're getting respite from the regional center? And we would all go, I didn't know you could get respite from the regional center. And then it was, how many hours are you getting? Oh, I didn't know I could get that many hours respite from the regional center. We would never have found out if somebody hadn't asked the question. So I encourage you to have that local support group, because you're going to want to say to them, the first question that you want to ask, my child is newly diagnosed and I want to find an ABA provider. Who do you guys recommend? That's one of the first things that I want to ask you guys to do. You can also check out Love My Provider for the area that you're in to see if they're already up and running in your area, because you will see ratings of ABA providers and people who are dentists and people who cut hair and schools and things of that nature. But if Love My Provider isn't in your area yet, then make sure you're in that local support group. Ask them, who do you recommend? And you absolutely make sure that you hear more than just one person. And I encourage you to get on more than one waiting list, because that's probably what it's going to be, is a waiting list to start. So you kind of want to hedge your bets. You want to make sure that it's a quality ABA provider, but hopefully by this point in time, there is at least one quality ABA provider, if not two, in your area. So I will encourage you to be asking your local support group, hey, you know, where do you go to do that? But you really want to have a global global support group too, so that you can ask really open-ended specific questions about, hey, you know, my child, my doctor has recommended that he take a charcoal pill and I can't get him to swallow this pill. How does everybody else get their child to take charcoal? And by the way, not every child with autism needs charcoal, right? I'm just using that as an example. Because it was one of the things that I could not get my child to take the charcoal pill. So, and in the global support group, maybe in your local support group, nobody else is taking charcoal, and so they don't know. But you know, you get in your global support group and you find somebody that's halfway around the world who has a child who's very similar to your child. And what happens is you make a connection because they have the same kind of autism, and you run past things each other and you say, my child's doing this, is your child doing that? This is what worked. Oh, really? And you have that conversation, you hold hands across sometimes oceans and continents. So get that support going. You are absolutely going to need it. And then, of course, the next thing is get on those waiting lists, because you're going to need ABA at some point, and you want to have that start as soon as possible, right? We said early intervention, which means now. So the very least, make sure that you're on a waiting list for quality ABA. And then while you're waiting on that waiting list, it is not the time, used to be that we sat and ate our stomach linings and ended up getting ulcers while we waited on that waiting list. You don't have to do that anymore. You have tools that are available to you, two that I'll mention briefly. You can go on skills and start to get a picture of where your child is in terms of what skills they need to learn, and start to actually teach them while you're waiting for ABA. You're going to want to know how to do ABA, so I will encourage you to go to ibehavioraltraining.com. That's Institute for Behavioral Training, and again, it's ibehavioraltraining.com. When you go there, they have individual trainings that are for practitioners, for teachers, and for parents. And then there's a fourth category that's the RBT. I think if you're just starting out, go to the parent column, find one or two things that are really meaningful to you. It may be that you started with, how do I get compliance? Because that's a really basic thing, getting your child to do what you ask them to do. A whole lesson on that. I think it's like $7, that training. You can go there, do that, have that training for a period of time so that not only you can watch it, but your babysitter can watch it and your mother-in-law can watch it. And you can all get on the same page and begin to see how these things work. If you're using that in conjunction with skills and doing it a little bit at a time, you will start to make progress before you even have a therapist get to your door. These tools empower you to be able to take this period of time and be able to turn it into something that is fruitful. The last thing that I will tell you to do is that you got to look at your child's overall health. Look at their overall health and decide, are there things that you need to take care of health-wise? Is your child someone who's constantly pushing their stomach and rocking? Because if they are, it's probably time to see a gastroenterologist who specializes in children who have those kinds of issues. They may not be somebody who is well-versed in autism, but if you can find somebody who has already dealt with children with autism that have gastrointestinal issues, you're probably going to get more done faster. That may not be the case in every area of the world that you have access to that, but if you do, search for that. That's another thing that you can be asking your local support group if there's somebody in your area that can do that. It may be that you need to talk to your pediatrician about some other health issues, but it's super duper important that by the time our child starts ABA intensively, when you've been through all your funding things and you've started with your ABA provider, that first day that your child is as healthy as possible. Think about if you had a splitting migraine headache, how teachable would you be in that moment? We are going to go through the process of getting our kids as teachable as possible, which means making them as healthy as possible. So that's sort of your, my child was just diagnosed, what do I need to do? There's your checklist. Get a support group. Get two of them, one local, one far away. Get on an ABA waiting list as soon as possible, as soon as you find out who gives the quality ABA closest to you. Make sure that your child is as healthy as possible. If you do those things, there are more things later on. Believe me, that's not the whole list. But if you do those things, and while you're waiting, set yourself up for success by using skills and IBT trainings so that you're getting on board with those things. If you do those things, you're going to be set up for success, and your child will be set up for success. You'll be amazed at how quickly things start to turn around and you start to see that real progress. It's what all of our kids deserve, and it's what you deserve as a parent. So stick with us Ask for help when you need it, but get started on that checklist. We're going to be right back after these messages.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We gave you guys the question today, what's your biggest obstacle in getting treatment? Now, here's what's interesting to me about this is that nobody wrote in anything. So, and that never happens. So I'm curious as to whether it was so overwhelming or if something happened in the world and you guys are all busy. But I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about this, about how we get around the obstacles. I used to love, they used to make that little booklet that was very popular about 20 years ago, Life's Little Instruction Book, and people had it, and it was frequent that people would give them as gifts or graduations and birthdays and things like that. And it was a dad who just had a bunch of things that he wanted to say to his son as he went off into the world, little things that he learned along the way that were important. And my favorite page in the Life's Little Instruction booklet, the thing that's sort of been my motto ever since then, is there's the phrase, and I'm going to slaughter it, but it says, when going after Moby Dick, make sure you pack the tartar sauce. And I remember reading that the first time I read it and going, what does that mean? And what I found over time is that what it means is that when you make up your mind that you're going to do something and you pack accordingly, that it's going to happen. That, you know, it's not even that failure is not an option. It's not even a discussion, right? When you make up your mind that you're going to do something, you go about it in a different way. And when you meet obstacles, you go, of course there are obstacles. I knew there were going to be obstacles because that's how it works, and it doesn't matter. There's the obstacle. What am I doing to get? Am I going over it? Am I going under it? Am I going through it? Or am I going around it? That's how you look at obstacles when you've made up your mind. And I'll tell you that I find that it is a very powerful shift. When you make up your mind that something is going to happen, it isn't that you fail to notice all the things that are going on. It's that you fail to let it stop you. You become really adept at problem solving. When I think about those families that we were talking about earlier, that they started ABA and they had ABA and then they lost their ABA, it really chokes me up, because there was a moment in time where we had our ABA and everything was clipping along and we were seeing that progress, and we got an email telling us that there was a possibility that funding was going to be cut for our program through the regional center. And so I had a 24-hour period where I thought it was going to happen. There was no one that I knew at that time that didn't get an email. I emailed every single person that I knew, and I said, my miracle is in danger. My child is making progress. Who knows somebody? Who do you know? They have that thing where they say, you need to be 3 phone calls away from the president. And I was like, who is 3 phone calls away from the person that I need to talk to? And 2 people came forward and said, I'm 3 people away from the person that you need to talk to. And I have no idea whether my phone call made a difference, but our program did not fold. And because and I'm not saying that the people who had sometimes things fold, and those people who had their Medicaid fold, it wasn't that they didn't make the right phone call, right? That was something that could not be saved, but those people didn't give up. They didn't go, well, there it is, the game's called on account of rain. Those people have been fighting for the last year. And they have fought the really good fight, and they're celebrating today because they packed the tartar sauce. That it didn't matter to them that a huge, seemingly insurmountable obstacle came. They found the 35 ways that it took to get around it, and it took a year. It wasn't easy, but those people are champions in my eyes, because the worst possible thing was happening to them, and they still got up and they still fought and they still continued to let it right, and they brought their kids to their legislators' offices, and they hired buses, and they went to Sacramento, and they had meetings with legislators and said, this is what you're doing to our children, and you've got to stop. And that's what I'm saying to you, is that you are going to meet obstacles. Our question today was, what's your biggest obstacle in getting treatment? You're absolutely going to meet obstacles, and I wish I could tell you today that, the obstacles are over for all of us. It's just not the truth. You are going to meet obstacles along the way, but you've got to pack the tartar sauce. You got to know that they're coming, see that they're coming, and know that you're going to get through it somehow. And when you make up your mind to do that, I tell you, we get the strength of 25 autism parents when we do that. The adrenaline kicks in, and you find the way to make it work. You start to problem solve in ways that you couldn't before. I have said before, and I will say again, if I could find the way to harness where my head understood about what we needed to do to get my son help, if I could harness that for so many other things in my life, good heavens, look out. I haven't been able to figure all that out, but when needed, I was clear that I had to pack the tartar sauce. And I would frequently say that, failure is not an option. We are doing this one way or the other, and if we can't work it out, and I see parents every single day who have said that, who've taken that pledge and have said, we're going to make it work. They move to different states. They change jobs. They will live someplace that they don't want to live so that their child can go to the school where they're getting the help that they can get. They put it all on the line because they know that this is a journey that's one of the most important sacred journeys that you can be on, to find the way to get your child the help so that they can be in the world the way that is uniquely meant for them to be in the world. I applaud all of you because I know that you're facing an obstacle today and that you're figuring your way out. Pack that tartar sauce. There have been times when I have bought a thing of tartar sauce and put it on the shelf so that I have to look at it on a regular basis and say, we're doing this one way or the other. We'll find the way, because there is a way. I want you to know that we're here to help you on that way. So find your way, make up your mind, get the tartar sauce, overcome those obstacles. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to be back with more of Autism Live after these messages. Stick with us.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The skills assessment and curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The skills assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the skills assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I wanted to take a couple of seconds to answer some and address some of the questions that you guys have written in today, because some of them I want to leave for Dr. Graham-Shave for tomorrow. But somebody said, "Hi Shannon, your question of the day, embarrassing for me, being organized." Did you miss last week when we were talking about, was it last week or the week before last, when we were talking about executive function with Dr. Nadowski, who just saw, who is the queen of executive functions, and that I am not the queen of being organized. I can organize you. I could come to your house and organize you, but I cannot organize myself. And often that is the case with people. So air hug, okay? I have being organized issues too. And you said, "Thank you for giving me the energy to carry on. You're like the watering station at the marathon," and right back at you. Thank you. You made my day. But I want you to know that the being organized thing, it's hard. And do you know that Autism Speaks on their, for newly diagnosed, on their thing about what to do in the first few days, they recommend that you go and buy a scanner that can take 30 pages at a time and scan them in. And you know why they recommend that? Because there's so much paperwork around autism, and it's important stuff, and you want to be able to access and find it. And you can't contain it in a filing cabinet. I know we've spilled over into the third filing cabinet. And so they recommend that you scan it and have some sort of a program that can, file it so that you can find all of it. That's how intensive. In this world, we're all trying to be paperless, and it's a wonderful thing to try to be paperless, but in the autism world, they're going to hand you stuff that isn't paperless. It's paper. So I would ask you first, forgive yourself for not being the perfect organized person, and decide that with me that we're going to bite this elephant a little bit at a time, one bite at a time, right? And pick one thing to organize today, and that might be your purse, it might be your glove compartment, it could be your sock drawer. It could be the top of the vanity in your bathroom. Pick one thing to organize, and then pat yourself on the back and reward yourself, because we don't do anything unless it's rewarding. And as parents, and especially parents of kids on the autism spectrum, often what happens is you'll organize something and then 35 people come and put stuff on top of it, right? It happens. So it's not very rewarding when that happens. So organize one little thing and reward yourself heavily for it, and then maybe you'll feel like organizing something else. But it's hard. It's really, really hard, and forgive yourself for that. I adore you. We're all in this together, right? Okay. We've got somebody who's writing in about a 4.5-year-old with a lot of problems with anxiety, and that they have anxiety too. So I'm gonna save this question for tomorrow with Dr. Graham-Shave, because she is amazing in the field of anxiety. I want to encourage you before tomorrow, if you have time, on our YouTube channel, you have the opportunity to watch. There are 2 shows that were Ask Dr. Doreen's that have to do with anxiety. And I'm going to have you watch just the second part, and it's the Ask Dr. Doreen that's from December 18th from last year. December 18th. She consolidates what she did in the first hour, and then she goes on to talk about some of the things that we can do about anxiety. I think that will begin to help you, and then we'll ask her these questions tomorrow. But I think you'll have more questions after you watch that videotape. And for anybody who's dealing with anxiety that is either on the spectrum or has a child on the spectrum, December 18th, 2013. It's when you go into it, it'll say part 2 of the anxiety show. And in part 1, which happened, I think it was like exactly a month before in November, she went through the new DSM-5 criteria and how it coincides. It's all very technical, might be useful to you, but I think that second hour is more useful to a parent about talking about anxiety and what you actually do about it. And we will talk about this tomorrow. We've had a bunch of things that have come in. There's another one about how to not feel overwhelmed in a loud setting from somebody who has Asperger's and has trouble with loud setting. I'm going to save that for Dr. Grandpichet as well. And we've got a grandparent who's written in this morning, a grandson who they suspect has some difficulties, and that there's a little bit of denial on the part of the parents. And I'm going to weigh in on that just a little bit right now, and then I'm going to encourage you. We're also going to talk about this with Dr. Grandpichet tomorrow. But what I want to say to you right now as a grandparent is bless you. Bless you. This is one of the hardest things in the world to watch when someone doesn't recognize that something is going on with their child. I don't know what relationship you have with your child, but I can tell you that it was not helpful to me when my mother said things. I had to hear it from a really good girlfriend. And I will also tell you, too, that when I found out that my family had been talking about it and trying to figure out who was going to say things to me, that didn't go over well with me either. So I want to prepare you now that, you know, you talk about this child who is not yet speaking. So it's time, and the pediatrician should have flagged this child to at least been looked at. If they're not speaking at all by 2, that is a huge red flag, and the child does need to be looked at. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have autism, right? But there's a delay. There's a definite delay if there are no spoken words by the 2nd birthday. So, and you mentioned that when you call his name, he ignores. So I want to say to you, you've got to make some decisions about how you're going to move forward. Only you know your family, whether it's best coming from a sibling, or whether it's best coming from you or from somebody else in the family, or if you can go to a friend and say, I need some help, because they will trust you, however you decide to go at it. But just know they're going to be mad at you no matter what you do. This is one of those times when you gird your loins, right? You say, I've got something that I've got to do, and I'm willing for them to be mad at me, and if they never speak to me again, I will make my peace with that, because I know that it's important that this child get the help that they need, and every day that we waste, we will kick ourselves later on. And that is the honest truth. I know as a parent that there are sometimes I have to do things with my son that I go, he's not going to like me very much, but it's, you know, important for him that he do this. You got to get in that headspace. Somebody needs to say something to these parents. And you get to decide who it's going to be. Pick your best, put your best foot forward, the person that they're most likely to listen to. If you want, get a pamphlet. Act Today has pamphlets that say, here are the milestones, here are the signs. If you're missing these milestones, you need to get help. Make sure that whoever says it, that you say, this child is wonderful and I love this child and there's nothing wrong with this child. But if they're behind on this, if we find out, in fact, that they are behind on this, there are things that can be done to help them so that they're not behind anymore. That's the level best advice I can give you, and I hug you, and I appreciate you, because you're fighting the good fight, and this child needs you in their corner. because every single parent, myself included, we've all at some point floated on that river in Egypt that we love to call denial, right? And it takes somebody who cares enough to say, I gotta say something. I think you need some help here. And I think that there is help and there is support. I was mad at the best friend who said it to me. I got over it and I thank her on a regular basis. And it was better that it came from her than my mom. I will say that. But you know your situation better than I do. But I think you are not overreacting, and I think it's time that somebody has to say something. The clock is ticking. Okay, and then write to us and let us know. And if you need somebody to hold your hand afterwards, after they've said not nice things to you, I'm available. All right, I want to talk briefly. There's a bunch more questions and some follow-up and some stuff from last week with Dr. Doreen that we're going to go over and cover tomorrow on the show. But as I mentioned, Dr. Graham-Shea will be here. We still have some room for some questions. People can be writing it on the live feature or on our Facebook, or you can be tweeting us. We also tomorrow for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy Alspaugh Jackson will be here with me. We're going to give you a little preview about this year's Denim and Diamonds event. That's a big fundraiser for ACT Today that helps to get those grants that we talk to you about all the time. Wonderful star-studded event here that happens in Los Angeles, and it's coming up. We're also having a wonderful guest, and I am not even going to try to say her name because I'm going to slaughter it, but I will say the name of her book that she's here to talk with us about, which is The Time of the Locust, in which the main character is a young boy on the autism spectrum. It's really quite amazing book, The Time of the Locust. We're going to have the author with us, and she's going to be talking about why the decision to include this subject in her maiden novel. So very exciting show tomorrow. We've got some really amazing in the news for you as well lined up for tomorrow. All of that happening. Also want to let you know that this Thursday on the show, we have Dr. Adele Nadowski is going to be with us, and Dr. Jonathan Tarbox as well. They will be available to answer questions that we don't get to tomorrow on Ask Dr. Doreen, and we also have some topics that we're going to be talking about with them on our subject, which is early intervention. And remember, when we say early intervention, we're really saying now. Now, it's never too late, not ever. There's progress available for each and every one of our kids. It isn't going to look the same for all of our kids, and we know that we have the best possible shot the earlier we can get to, which means now. So if you haven't already started ABA, we want you to get started. At very least, get on a waiting list today for quality ABA. I want to take this time to thank all of you and to thank our guests that were with us today, Dina Kimmel from We Rock the Spectrum, and Paula Pompa-Craven, from Easter Seals. I hope that those of you who have availability to check out both of those things. We're out of time, but thank you for being here with me, and thank you for writing in and being a part of this show. We're going to be back tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.